And so as the story goes, as you know, there was only enough oil for one day, and it takes 8 days to press new olive oil. That's how long it takes. And so they rushed out to start making new oil, but they simply lit the lamp of the eternal flame in the temple to rededicate it. And of course, the miracle is that it lasted for 8 days. Karen sent me a little meme from Facebook to help you grasp the miraculous nature of this. This would be like realizing that your cell phone has 10% battery left and you can talk on it for 8 days.
I'm so glad you joined us today. That makes you a part of CSL Dallas, and we love that our community continues to grow. And we also love to give great spiritual content. And a way that you can participate in our community is financially give to it. It's easy to do so. Go to CSLDallas.org and hit the give button. Or you can set up a text giving mechanism at 972-954-4404, a safe and secure way to send us money whenever you watch a great message like this. So thanks for giving, and buckle up, because here comes the spiritual content.
El Shaddai, El Shaddai, El Elyon Adonai. Age to age, you're still the same. By the power of the name, El Shaddai, El Shaddai, Elkamkana Adonai. We will praise and lift you high, El Shaddai. We will praise and lift you high, El Shaddai.
Gary, Laney, thank you so much. El Shaddai, Elohim, Adonai, Christ, Spirit, the universe, infinite presence, infinite power. Age to age, you're still the same. By the power of the name of that which we call the infinite. And as that song so beautifully shares with us the history of our own tradition, the Judeo-Christian culture in which we live, as we see the progression of our understanding of the name of the divine. And how that name, what we name the divine and how we understand the divine, this eternal flame, moves us and gives us something. All right, so this morning, that's what we're talking about, the eternal flame, this eternal presence. And we're looking back into our history. One of the things that we do at the holidays is we have an opportunity to look back into the evolution of spirituality, the traditions and cultures from which most of us come, all the various ways in which we've come to this moment in time in a New Thought Center, in a Science of Mind Center, celebrating all of the holiday traditions. So you know the story of Hanukkah, right? The Maccabees won back the temple after it was taken from them. The Maccabees won back the temple, and the temple had been defiled. And in the Jewish temple, one of the representations of God is the eternal flame that is always burning, as a representation, as a reminder that this thing that we name is always present. And so as the story goes, as you know, there was only enough oil for one day, and it takes 8 days to press new olive oil. That's how long it takes. And so they rushed out to start making new oil, but they simply lit the lamp of the eternal flame in the temple to rededicate it. And of course, the miracle is that it lasted for 8 days. Karen sent me a little meme from Facebook to help you grasp the miraculous nature of this. This would be like realizing that your cell phone has 10% battery left and you can talk on it for 8 days. Gives you a little clue, right? Gives you a little clue. And so we celebrate, in Hanukkah, we celebrate the Feast of Lights, because that was a manifestation. That was the miracle of the light, was a manifestation of the knowingness of the presence of the divine, of the deep and profound trust and recognition of this eternal flame. By God, we're going to light this flame. We don't know what's going to happen. We absolutely trust that the universe is with us, that Elohim is with us, that Adonai is here. We're going to light this flame. Do you see? And in that act, we use what we understand to be true about the infinite divine presence, and we stand in our life in that place. And we manifest miracles. We also recognize Bodhi Day, which is considered the day of Buddha's enlightenment. And as you know the story, Buddha tried deep mortification of the flesh, asceticism. At one point, it is reported that he lived on 1 bean a day. And he was so rigorous in his discipline that he was close to death. And someone was moved by his piety. A woman brought him into her house, helped him restore his strength. He realized that had actually not gotten him any closer to divine wisdom. So he decided to go to the other extreme. He got married. He became a wealthy merchant. He made tons of money. He did all kinds of what we would consider householder sorts of things, was successful, all of that. And he realized that got him no closer to divine wisdom. So the two ends of the spectrum, didn't get him there. So what did he do? He sat under a Bodhi tree. And he said, I'm going to sit here until I know something new. Until I experience the reality. And he sat there. Some stories say he sat there for 21 days. Some stories say they don't know how long he sat there until he achieved enlightenment. He achieved that divine wisdom, that insight into the presence of life itself, the experience of the presence of the eternal flame, of the eternal light, of that eternal reality. He experienced that. And from that place, he spoke and taught, reformed Hinduism into what we know today as Buddhism, and brought a teaching forward. In Buddhism, in the story of Buddha, we see the power of stillness, the miracle of quiet, and the deep and profound recognition that if we will become still enough, the name of God will emerge from within. Why? Because it's already there. It's already present. It's just covered up, either by excessive piety or by being so involved in the human condition and so involved in this illusion of separation that we can't hear the stillness. And so, and the other thing, I looked up I looked up the word enlightenment because I always have a little love-hate relationship with the word enlightenment. When I first started getting into spirituality, I always thought enlightenment meant some like deep and profound esoteric thing, and I would discover the jewel behind the seventh veil, and I would levitate off into, turn pink and transcend somehow. Well, clearly that didn't happen. And I've always really deeply resonated with this statement. Before enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. It's actually not life itself that changes. So I looked up enlightenment. I looked up the definition of enlightenment, of course, and so that it is the experience of spiritual wisdom. The experience of spiritual wisdom, not the learning of spiritual wisdom, not the understanding of spiritual wisdom. All of that obviously builds to the experience of spiritual wisdom or insight. Every moment, every time that you experience spiritual insight, you are becoming enlightened. Actually, in that moment, you're in the enlightened state. Enlightenment is just as close to you as the name of God, as the eternal flame. These two stories, I think they represent for us, or they remind us that these are both ways in which we move beyond a purely intellectual understanding of what the name of God means. Now, we use the term God because we have some common understanding that when we use this three-letter word, that we mean something spiritual, something divine, something beyond the human experience. But after that, it gets a little fuzzy, right? Because we have a lot of associations with that word. And so this is why I think it becomes so important for us to understand what we understand about the name of God. So when you think about the eternal flame, let's say the name of this, whatever this is, Ernest Holmes uses the incredibly scientific and technical term, the thing itself. It's about as baggage-less as you can get, right? So I just want you to take a moment and feel in your consciousness what wisdom about this infinite does the name, the eternal flame, bring to you. So if I were to ask you what comes up, what would you say?
Always present.
Always present.
All-consuming.
All-consuming. Forever. Okay? So now try this one on. Just allow yourself to feel the implication of the name of God. Infinite reality. Infinite reality. And as you feel that in your consciousness, what comes up? Say it again. Delicate kindness. Always there. Connection. Peace. Okay. So now try this one on. So feel into your consciousness universal principle. Universal principle. What is elicited in your consciousness as you feel into the term, the name of God, universal principle? The law. Spiritual equity. Oneness. All-encompassing. Good. So do you see that every name gives us something similar and yet opens up another space? Right? Opens up something, carves out an experience of the divine reality. And so this is why it becomes such a powerful spiritual practice to explore the names of God. The ones that we resonate with, the ones that we don't resonate with, the ones that are new to us. And to ask ourselves, what space in consciousness does this particular name of God open up? We can also use terms that maybe have old ideas associated with them. God, Goddess, Holy Spirit, love. And we can examine what comes along with these names. And we can ask ourselves, is it spiritually true? Does this resonate? Because as you can see over time, our understanding of whatever the thing itself is has actually grown and evolved. It's grown and evolved as we have understood more about ourselves and more about reality. This is one of the deep and profound joys of when we can marry science and spirituality, psychology and philosophy and spirituality. All of these things are developing us. And as we develop as a human species, as we develop in our understanding of things, newer and newer awarenesses are available to us. And so we begin to explore these new names, these new ideas. But more importantly, the new experience of the name of God. So how do we experience this new reality? How do we start with intellectually understanding it? We start with talking about it. We come to services, we come to classes, we read books, we learn about things, right? And we begin to open up to the possibility that there are other ways to understand this thing we've called God. But enlightenment is the experience of spiritual wisdom. So how do we move into the experience of it? And I think these two stories give us direction. What does the story of the Buddha teach us about how we experience spiritual wisdom? Become still. Become still. Sit. Now, I don't propose that you sit in silence. Personally, I think that's pretty impossible. First of all, there's a lot of noise in the world, if nothing else, just the electrical noise of the background, right? And there's an awful lot of noise going on in here. And when we resist it or try to make it go away, we just make it grow. So I like the word stillness. Become still. The Buddha didn't sit in a spiritual hall, close all the doors, insist that everybody around him was silent. He sat under a tree next to a river. Birds and the rushing of the water and the weather, all of that happening all of the time around him. I think silence is the product of us becoming still. And so it is in the stillness that we open ourselves, and that awareness, we can do what we just did today. Just that brief moment is to allow a new idea to drop into our consciousness and to roll it around in our consciousness and to allow it to reveal itself to us. Infinite presence, divine love, ultimate reality. Spiritual truth, universal principle, creative process, presence. All of these things, do you see, as we become still and allow these ideas to live within us, they will reveal spiritual wisdom to us and insight to us. And that stillness creates the space in which we experience the reality of the wisdom. So we celebrate through this time in the holidays, Bodhi Day, so that we can remember how important this moment of stillness, these regular moments of stillness are. Now, contrast that with the story of the Maccabees. That was a pretty bold action, wasn't it? First of all, they took the temple back, then they rededicated it, and by God, they were going to light the lamp. Period. End of sentence. We're going to light the lamp. And in that profound act of trust, a miracle occurred. Right? This is the miracle of manifestation. The other way that we experience spiritual wisdom and insight is we prove it to ourselves, which means that we actually have to act on it. We had a fabulous conversation in our Sunday morning class this morning about hope. And in the Science of Mind, it's written, hope is a subtle illusion. It is better than despair, but it's actually not trust. Hope is actually coupled with doubt. When we hope for something, we're not certain about it, are we? We're hoping it'll come about. We're hoping it'll work out. We're hoping that somehow this is all going to be okay. And that hope has that seed of doubt in it. Maybe it won't. But do you see, in the proving of the wisdom and the insight, we gain certainty that this eternal flame is in fact eternal, and that it is in fact always present, and it is always burning. It's always available to us. It's always something that we can stand on and use and prove to ourselves over and over again. Do you see, as we are willing to step out into the possibility that what we believe to be true is in fact true, and that we're willing to stake our life on it and our commitment to what we say is so, when we're willing to do that, we're standing in that place of certainty. We prove the principle as it manifests. Do you see? And so it is the willingness to stand bold-faced, naked in the presence of life and say this is the truth. And I will act as if it's true, behave as if it's true, speak as if it's true, and demand that the universe responds from that truth. The miracle occurs. And we experience the reality of our spiritual insight. Do you see? And so we have these two ways, and I would suggest that we need them both. Some of us need to be a little more still. We're probably so busy out there proving it that we haven't quite experienced it internally. Others of us are so busy sitting and experiencing it that we're not actually proving it to ourselves, right? It's always a both and. Always a both and. There's never an either or. And what one combination is right for one person is a little bit different for the next person. But I believe that we need both of these ways of engaging with our spiritual wisdom and our spiritual insight. First of all, to allow the wisdom and the insight to deepen, but second of all, to then have the experience of it, so that we walk in the world from that place. So as I was contemplating all of this, one of the phrases from the Christian tradition kept coming up for me. And I remember struggling with this phrase for a really long time. And it's the phrase, the peace that passes understanding. The peace that passes understanding. What in the world does that mean? I have no idea what that means. I spent years just being with that, actually not being with that. Like, what the hell? Peace that passes understanding. I do not feel peaceful. I'm not peaceful in this situation. There's nothing that I can understand about this situation that's going to cause me to feel peace, because it is not okay. On and on and on and on, right? And so this phrase kept coming up for me over and over again over a number of years of spiritual deepening and awareness. And so here's what has come to me and what I think that means. The peace that passes understanding is the spiritual peace that is actually not understandable to worldly wisdom. So I can be at peace while everyone around me is running around like a chicken with their head cut off. And they look, right, when you're at peace, when everything else is going crazy, they look at you like you're the crazy one. Like, how can you be peaceful in the midst of this? Somebody has to do something, oh my God! Right? Or whether it's in grief or loss or upset or whatever it is, from the human point of view, it is understandable not to be at peace. But do you see, when we are experiencing our spiritual wisdom and insight, experiencing it, that means we're living from it. And that means that we stand in the spiritual truth, the spiritual peace, despite the fact that it's actually understandable not to. Does that make sense to you? And I thought, well, that's just going to make me look weird. Yeah, that would be true. It will be. That's what it means, not understand, that passes understanding. And I might myself not understand. How can I be centered in the midst of this trauma? How can I be centered in the midst of what's going on? But do you see, that is the peace that passes understanding. That is the trust that does not require us to see it before we trust it. That is the faith that allows us to move as if it were already so. That's the moving in the world from the experience of our spiritual wisdom and insight. And so we have this beautiful opportunity all through the holidays. We are fanning the flame of love. And today we're fanning the flame, our own personal flame of understanding. And the deeper flame of experience. And what it means to us, the name of God. So I want to really invite you this week. I want you to deeply invite you this week into the practice. What name of God or names of God really speak, really carve out that space? What names of God grow your spiritual maturing, grow you to the next understanding, to the next deepening of spiritual reality? And do you see, as we do this together, I think we're metaphorically sitting under the Bodhi tree. And we're lighting our lamp of the eternal flame. And when we do that, I think we're really celebrating the holidays. Do you see? I don't think the holidays are exclusively about decorating the tree and putting the lights in the menorah, and passing out the presents, or sitting in a family gathering. But it is the taking up of the practices that each of the moments, each of the possibilities available to us, that each of these holidays has a deep seed for us to grow in, for us to take up in our lives. So this week, take up the eternal flame. And we're going to close. I'm going to ask Gary to come on up here, and he's going to sing to us this beautiful piece that he wrote.
As time's unfolded me, it has revealed to me life's nothing less than sublime. And with every thought I make, every last breath I take, may I be gracious and kind. need you to open up this heart of mine. Love, cover me, light any darkness. Love, cover me, right every wrong. Cause me to see love over hatred. Guide me to be faithful and strong. Love, cover me. Love, cover me. Kindness wash over me. Make me a symphony. Play every note you can find. Make me reverberate, gently deactivate, slowly flow out of my mind. Find me a melody, dance and let my anthem be. Love, cover me, light any darkness. Love, cover me, right every wrong. Cause me to see love over hatred. Guide me to be faithful and strong. Love, cover me. Love, cover me. Love, cover me. Love, cover me.
Move into this place. Love, cover me, the eternal flame of love. Let us truly this morning know that this is the truth of our being, that this love is already present, lifting us, filling us, pouring out into the world, causing us to stand tall and straight and truthful and absolutely centered in who we are. And so as we make this claim, love, cover me, we are lifted and we are loved. And so it is. Gary Floyd.